Heat got the win against Charlotte last night. This is probably the first time I'm talking about this team where I'm not discussing late game execution. It feels like it's been weeks where we're talking about final possessions with 10 seconds left of a tie game. But they finally took care of business, I guess, against the Charlotte team. They were rolling on all cylinders, I guess, offensively with the cutting, with the moving, with the shooting. Defensively, there was some issues, I guess, early on because their offense looked good in the first half, but they were still a tight game. But I just want to discuss this opening stretch of the third quarter. They basically went on a 25-point run in 5 minutes of time in the third quarter. They had 57 points walking into the third quarter. With 7 minutes left in the quarter, they had 82. That's the type of run this team went on. I think it was 11 straight made field goals over this time. So I just want to go through just what they were running and what was flowing at this part of the game, especially because there's not one thing to discuss from this game. If you look at the stat sheet, the Jimmy stat line, the Kyle stat line just across the board, Bam has 24 and 15. You got Max with 8 threes and 31 points. It was just Caleb Martin didn't even have a crazy stat game, and he's like a plus 27 and plus minus. Like, it was just a wild stat game overall. And that's what things will look like when the offense is rolling like this with everybody kind of moving and flowing and scoring. So first possession of the third quarter, you're going to see Max pinned down for Kyle. Now it's a cross screen, Max over there for Bam. Something from this game, including when you talk about the stat sheet, is Kyle Lowry's assists probably stand out. I think he ended up with 8. But it was the way that he was passing in this game was just really incredible in the half court. Like, we know what he could do as a passer, but when he starts doing stuff like this, as I go back a little bit, cross screen over to Bam, Plumlee tries to jump it in front of him, Bam shoots back door, and Kyle notices that, flings it back the other way, and he gets to an easy dunk immediately. The next possession now, similar play. You're going to see down low, it's a cross screen in the paint for Bam. Instead of getting it in that post area, he's coming to screen for Max. So you're just seeing a base that they're trying to get to in terms of in the third quarter to start the game. Max now, as I said, 8 threes, gets a little pull-up, wide open shot. You're going to take that all game. I want to mention that something that stands out about this Heat team is that they're very good at the beginning of first and third quarters. Why? It's almost like a first drive of a football game where a quarterback has those scripted plays and he's good at the beginning of games because of that reason. This team is good when they're scripted, like when they're playing their game plan all the way. The issues start to come when they start to kind of freelance a little bit and things start to slip away. But when they're playing like this and they're kind of executing their game plan at the beginning of a quarter, that's when they look best. They just have to sustain it. One of the things that was a part of their game plan in this game, in the first and the third, was that they were trying to push pace. Eric Spoelstra talked about LaMelo Ball being back and him pushing pace. But this team was really running in transition at the beginning of each quarter. So you see right here, off the miss, Jimmy running the floor. What do you want to do in transition when you're Miami? Find your two athletes, either Bam or Caleb. Right here, Caleb rolling to the rim, gets a little up and under on the left side. He knocks it down. Now they're at 64 points, basically a minute and a half. You get ran off a quick 7, but like I'm saying, like, this isn't stopping here. Pinned down for Max Strus, comes off it, reverses, tries to run left. They're going to double team him now. Something I think a lot of people are very familiar with what we saw with Duncan, but teams are really overplaying him in terms of when he starts rolling. Even when he's not going, they're going to overplay him. But his reaction to the overplays have been very impressive, like in terms of getting the ball out and getting in the pocket right here, as I'm going to show, or just off the ball when they're overplaying. He makes these backdoor cuts that get some easy buckets. Like, that's what makes Max Strus's game so impressive, I guess, this season. It's not just that the shooting is playing at a high level. It's kind of everything else. But continuing, he gets it inside to Bam. And the interesting thing about Bam is Bam kind of created so many looks for this team yesterday and didn't even all the time lead to assists. But right here, 3 bodies basically looking at him inside the paint. Basically, you could either kick it to Jimmy, you could turn around and kick it to Kyle, or what he does is just wait an extra second, get Caleb to a little standstill 3. He knocks it down. Actually, it wasn't a 3. I think his foot was on the line on that play. But either way, that's the kind of looks you want. Similar play. Now they're going to run the same exact thing again. Max rolling left. Are they going to double? Yeah, well, they kind of did. Now he can kind of get it inside to Bam. Instead, they're going to overplay that corner because they have a little PTSD from the play before that they're like, okay, we're not going to dip off that corner again. Now he reverses play style, reverses the court, kicks to Kyle, swing to Jimmy. He knocks down that 3. Like, you're just seeing what they wanted to get to in a base and kind of just evolve it from play to play. Like, when they start doing that type of stuff, specifically with the ball movement, because the ball movement's kind of the overarching theme here. That's what they need to do. Another play, as I said before, pushing pace. Kyle got down the floor basically in 3 seconds, gets it over to Max, wide open 3. No X's and O's there. It's pretty much just the idea that they're really trying to push pace in a game like this when they're playing a team like Charlotte. Now, going over this play, a quick out of bounds play. I don't want to be the one to expose anything in general from game plan wise. But it's still funny to me to watch them with their baseline sets that it just always ends up in the same exact shot every time. And most of the time it works. Like they just run these little baseline. Either you're going to get a baseline jumper by the inbounder or a corner three because they're just going to move all the time, set screens, and they just want their movement guys to basically hit those shots. We've seen this for years, but that's just a tough shot right there. But that's the shots they want, those type of baseline sets. Another one, you're going to see Kyle Lowry kind of picking things apart. You're going to see Max. This play was interesting to me because talking about Max and the overplays, you're going to see Max get in the lane, but you're going to see something else that I think that we haven't seen a ton of, I guess, and this kind of opens up everything for the starting lineup. Max little screen is going to get inside. Something we talk about all the time are 2-on-1s. When you make that screen, when the defender is forced to go over on that screen, and now Max and Bam can basically run a 2-on-1, especially against Plumlee, that you feel like you can win that battle most of the time. But what you're looking at on the bottom of your screen is Jimmy's not going to just watch this 2-on-1 play out. He's going to make this a 3-on-2. Like he's going to play this advantage even more so where they have more options. And now they're kind of the defense is forced to do things even more. So now Max gets in the lane. Jimmy's going to cut behind the defense. He gets a wide open and one backside. The reason I say this is so important for the starting lineup is that Jimmy isn't known to be just cutting and moving at all times. That's what needs to be done to be able to specifically make the Tyler Herro starting lineup insertion work. But last night was one of his best games I've seen him in terms of just moving and cutting. Like when he's doing that, I just don't know how you guard that as a defense because you already know the gravity he has in general inside the lane. But when he's doing it off ball, that just creates a ton of miscommunications for the defense, especially when you're talking about a Charlotte team like this. Now, another example of Jimmy right here, going to get it inside the Bam, a little high-low game. We saw this a ton early on in the first quarter as well, like a trend that we saw they were trying to get to. They were trying to get Bam into his face-up game, trying to run that high-low between Jimmy and Bam and the reverse action. But right here, Bam just turns it to a face-up, does a nice little spin move, left-handed hook, and that was the 82nd point or the 25th point of this third quarter. You see with 7:06 left. So you can kind of see the base that they're trying to get to. I'd say the trends are basically that it's not going to be one guy. Like you just saw basically a bunch of different guys run off some points, but it's the idea of basically having high level ball movement, moving off the ball, cutting, and I guess at times pushing pace because obviously you can score a lot more points when you're kind of expanding your possessions in general in transition.